This story begins with Fritz von Erich, a professional wrestler and patriarch of the von Erich family. Here we know him when he was still fighting and already had 2 children and was expecting his 3rd. Fritz had an extremely tenacious mentality and would not let anything change his mind. So he decided to rent a better car to act like a star, because that way he thought he would achieve his goal of being the heavyweight champion of the world. However, this did not happen and years passed. Now Fritz is retired and his family is grown. He has 4 children, and 3 of them are involved in sports and are quite athletic. All this because of their father, who instilled in them from a very young age to be the toughest, the strongest, and the most successful so that nothing can harm them. Boys. In addition, they love wrestling, and the first one who is dedicated to this is Kevin, who has prepared himself a lot to have a great physique and win several of his fights. As a result, he is now the new heavyweight champion at the Texas level. His father is very proud of Kevin and believes this is just the beginning. It was his main goal to win the world championship and bring the coveted belt home that Fritz could not win. Kevin has an upcoming fight, and this time he will be joined by his brother David, who will be making his in-ring debut. All this is a show put on by the Bonnieries, who have a good business in this fight business. After coming out winners of the fight, Kevin signs several autographs, and there is a girl named Pan. She comes up to him and invites him out to eat. He gets a little nervous, as he has never had an invitation before. On the other hand, Fritz, while counting the money they earned for the fight, receives the news that the ratings were very high, so ESPN wants to broadcast a fight on Saturday nights. This is very good news at a financial and promotional level to achieve the world championship. During his date with Kevin, he reveals to him that what he wants for his life is to win the world championship. Being with her family and siblings, something the girl finds very sweet. She also reveals to him what she wants for her life. She wants to be a veterinarian rather than have children, and especially a man who will accept that. So she asks Kevin very directly if he would accept it. A question that he did not expect, but he answered that of course he did. Our protagonist also reveals to him that he is not the older brother as he seems, but that when he was 5 years old, the first of the brothers named Jack Jr. died. A tragedy that he does not remember much as he was only a child. Pam doesn't think about it and goes to give him a hug as a form of consolation. There, Kevin confesses to her that this is probably part of the family curse, as his father changed his last name to Bond. Erich, which was his mother's last name, and from there it is believed that his family began to suffer all kinds of tragedies since his brother died. People think it was because of the curse, but Kevin doesn't believe this kind of thing. Van also mentions that he does not believe in that, and especially in being lucky. He believes that each one creates his own destiny. After this talk, the boys don't think about it anymore, and they end up having their first kiss upon returning home. Kevin gets the news from his father that he is going to fight the heavyweight champion of the world, although this is just a friendly fight. If he gives him a good beating, he can be the #1 contender for the world championship. This is great news, and Kevin is very happy. His father reminds him that all his career he has always dreamed of having that belt at home, and now his son has that opportunity, so he has to take advantage of it. The day of the long-awaited fight arrives. A wrestler named Jerry, who seems to have put on a little weight, starts off by landing some good punches on Kevin. The good thing is that the boy recovers and also gives him a few blows. However, Harley ends up sending him out of the ring. The blow is so hard that Kevin can't get up. Fortunately, he makes it just in time, and upon returning to the ring, Harley hits him in the eyes, which causes him to give and rate the fighter, and Kevin ends up winning the fight. The guy gets booed, and David comes to his brother's defense and hits Gurley. Our protagonist gets up as best he can, and his brother mentions to everyone that Kevin kicked Harley's ass and that they are the future of the sport. His dad is a little hard on Kevin, as the fight didn't go the way he had hoped and hopes for a rematch. On the other hand, would the family's Olympic athlete, who was in full preparation, return home as the Olympics were canceled? Mike, the youngest of them all, who is not an athlete like his brothers, likes music, so his family reveals to him that he has a small presentation with his band at night. However, his mother does not give him permission, and his father does not support him either. His brothers decide to help him, and they all run away together so that Mike can give his presentation. The boy certainly has talent and his siblings know it. They all have a great time, and above all, Kevin and Pam. After a few days, Fritz knows that he has to counterattack so that he is in the eyes of the world, and one of his sons fights for the world championship, so he decides to get Carrie into wrestling. And together with his other brothers, they now put on a show fighting against 3 other wrestlers. The boys begin to have numerous fights where they win a lot of money, and at the end of one of them, Fritz comes out to tell everyone that his son David is going to be the next heavyweight champion of the world. So Kevin is a little surprised, because he realizes that his father no longer trusts him so much. One day the boys receive the news that they will finally have the opportunity to fight for the world title, and the fighter is desired to be David. This undoubtedly comes as a surprise to everyone, and especially to Kevin David. He is also terrified. He has to fight for the next 6 months, and then he will travel to Japan to conquer that country, and then the world title. Fritz is very happy for his son and believes that he will finally be able to see you. After giving the coveted title, the father also thanks his other 2 sons, because without them this would not have been possible. But Kevin is a little sad because it was also one of his dreams. Kevin marries Brett and celebrates in style with his family. In the middle of the celebration, Kevin finds his brother David in one of the bathrooms vomiting when he sees blood in the toilet. Kevin freaks out and tells him he needs to see a doctor. David refuses on the grounds that he feels fine and that it is all due to how hard he has been training. Changing the subject, that well confesses to him that he was jealous of his brother, but realized that he didn't really want that, as he simply enjoyed wrestling with his family. The boy also tells her that they rushed the wedding with Brett because he is going to be a father. This news pleased his brother, who ended up congratulating him and asked him to continue celebrating. After a few days, Kevin receives the bad news that his brother David died in his hotel in Japan from a perforated intestine. Their father orders his children not to cry, as he considers it to be God's will. Kevin, who was alone in one of the correspondences, finds a letter from his brother David, who told him how much he missed him. Without a doubt, the passing of his brother is a very painful loss for Kevin Fritz. He gathers his sons to tell them that the heavyweight title fight is still pending after David's death, and he wants one of them to go for the title immediately, and Kevin offers, but that Harry also wants to do it, and his father supports him, as he mentions that he sees more potential in him. The long-awaited day arrives, and Carrie gives it his all, taking the heavyweight title on behalf of his brother David and his entire family. Back home, Kevin congratulates him and tells him how proud he is of him. Carrie, who was very happy, decides to go for a motorcycle ride, and to her bad luck, she has an accident and ends up losing part of her leg. On the other hand, after the birth of his son, Kevin decides that his cousins, nor do they all receive the surname Atkinson, the original surname of their family. This was because Kevin believed that the Von Erich family was doomed to suffer multiple tragedies, and it seemed that all events were proving him more and more right. Kevin was ignored by his father. His brother Mike was the next star for his family, but to the bad luck of the Bonds, Eric Mike injures his shoulder, and in his surgery, after a too high fever, he suffers a shock syndrome. This leaves Kevin devastated, who doesn't understand why his family is going through all of this. Jerry tries to return to training, but the pain in his leg prevents him from doing so, while Mike decides to take his own life, since nothing is the same as before. Kevin asks Carrie to continue to rest, but Carrie refuses as he wants to continue fighting. The next morning, they learn of Mike's death, another hard loss for the family. After the death of his brother, Kevin decides to train day and night to compete against Ric Flair for the World Championship. The day of the long-awaited event arrives, and he enters with all his fury and hits Ric with a few punches. The guy doesn't let himself, but still that good is stronger. It makes him the Iron Claw and resists to let go. This action causes Kevin to lose the World Championship by disqualification. He asks her to go to a bar, to have a few beers. Even very happy, he asks her for a rematch, but what a good thing he doesn't want, and realizes that he doesn't want to go on like this. Kevin returns to his family, to whom he is fully dedicated, taking care of his 2 children, spending time and seeing that earnings are not as they used to be, and that his brother wanted. It is now owned by another company. Kevin wants to sell his share in order to have a stable economy, and buy a house where he can live comfortably with his family. However, his father refuses to do so, and they make it clear that if he sells his share, he will no longer be welcome in their home. So Kevin decides to desist from selling because because it is Christmas, and Carrie is coming to visit. His father, upon seeing him, tells him how proud he is of him and throws him in his face. Kevin, who ruined the World Heavyweight Championship Harry was bringing a gun as a gift to his father. The boy wants him to try it, but his father refuses since they are having visitors. Carrie seems to lose control when she gets a no for an answer, but then realizes she's calmed down and has a good time as a family. In the evening, Carrie calls Kevin to tell him how bad she feels about the loss of her leg, as it hurts all the time. He also tells him that he feels very lonely and that they will not give him new contracts and will only put him in a fight. At local shows, Kevin invites him to breakfast for some family time, but Carrie shuts down saying he's cursed and wants to die. Kevin wants to help him, but Harry immediately hangs up on him. Kevin calls his father to tell him to take care of his brother while he arrives home the next morning. Query ends up taking his own life with the gun he gave his father. Kevin, furious, blames his father with a broken heart at losing his only remaining brother. Kevin takes Carrie to the table in his living room where you cry. Shared, the biopic shows him laughing on a boat in the afterlife, arriving at a dock where his other deceased siblings are happily waiting for him. He even reunites with Jack Jr., his little brother who died as a child. Finally, Kevin, after losing all his siblings, puts his family. First of all, he sells the part of his company to be able to support Brad and his children, who are his strength and comfort. After the loss of all his siblings in the credits, they mention that the Von Erich family was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009. And that Kevin and Pan bought a ranch where he lives with his huge family of children and grandchildren. And so ends this story. Let me know in the comments.
Preview.